Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is still me, Jello, and we have the Stoicheia quick start deck reveals. A lot of people are disappointed. I am among them, but we're going to look and see if this has any redeeming qualities at all. This is the Stoicheia start deck. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing we have is Seeking Fairy Strovera. When it's rode upon by Variety Feast Dragon, draw 2, then discard 2. So that's pretty interesting. Lots and lots of milling right off the bat, and lots of opportunities for you to accidentally draw a trigger before you get to use them. Second ability during your turn, if your Vanguard is Cristianos, she's 13k. Next, we have Variety Feast Dragon. When this unit is rode upon by a grade 3 with Cristianos in its card name, you can choose a grade 1 or less from your drop, and you may call it to rear. So it's a free call from drop. Then if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Cristianos in its card name, then it becomes a 15k guard. So yeah, that's the ride line. I think it's all right. I mean, it's really hard to tell in a vacuum with some of these. The Dragon Empire one and the Brantgate ride line I find are probably the best ones right now, just in terms of just overall impact that it has on the deck later on in the game. The draw 2 discard 2 I guess is okay, but that's something that can be done at any point in the game, so it kind of sucks that you're milling so early when you don't have when you potentially don't have a very good setup. The grade 1 or less from drop is all right. At least it's free and you don't have to discard anything, and you probably would have something that you put in there off of the grade 1 anyway, so it's all right. We just looked at the Keter Sanctuary one, so we know that this doesn't get as many numbers as the Keter Sanctuary ride line gives you potentially. It's a pretty weak ride line. Chain of abilities. If there is another ride line that we're playing for Cristianos, I'd love to hear what you guys think, but right now, if you're going stock, kind of in for a sad ride here. Next, we have Pascal himself. We have Marine General of the Sea Cristianos. My strategy is true. All forces fight hard and sing the glorious song of victory. Yeah, he says that, but I don't know if his abilities let him do it. Once per turn, counterblast 1, search a Persona Ride copy, gets plus 10k. Then Energy Blast 2, act. Now, when I first saw this ability, I was half asleep and thought that this was an on-attack ability and thought this was amazing. And then I was corrected later on in my Discord that it is an act ability, which kind of sucks, to be honest. Like, you get decent numbers, but you're limited to 3 attacks, and you don't have any pressure depending on what you're able to call, like what is in your drop zone, especially this early in the game. You probably, if you haven't guarded, then you've discarded 3 times for your ride line, then you've discarded 2 off of your grade 1. So if you don't have anything good in your drop zone at the time, this kind of sucks early game. But it's an introductory set. I was memeing that maybe we'll get cards that delay their call until after your Vanguard with Cristianos and his card name is attacked, but I think that probably is going to make things a little too complicated, especially for a fundamentals deck such as this one. But we do have all right support coming out right away in the commons, so it's all right. I don't think it's complete trash. It's pretty bad in comparison to the others, just because when we look at what the other 4 decks do, Triumph Dragon gets a crit, so that's 2 damage, like if you get hit once. The Brantgate, the Dark States, and the Keter Sanctuary all give you a 4th attack with extra power. This gives you 2 rear guards, but no power, and that already doesn't feel very good, just because you're not plussing as much as everyone else in that regard off of your Energy Blast ability. You're not getting as much pressure off. I mean, you could probably play a Super Turtle deck and just, call Variety Feast Dragons and have 30k shield every turn, but that doesn't sound like a very good idea. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what kind of support we get. We are only getting one more piece of support, I think, outside of the 4 cards that we'll be looking at next. But what do you guys think of Cristianos? I don't think he's great. I don't want to be that person and say that this is complete trash, because like I'm still going to play the deck. I'm going to find a way to make it work, but it doesn't feel great. Right now it just does not feel very good. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. But if we do get some kind of support that restands itself, if it was called from the drop after it attacks, that's great. If we get something that, again, like is a delayed call after Vanguard, let's say if this unit is called from drop by Cristianos, bind this unit, and then from bind zone after the battle that your Vanguard with Cristianos and his card name attacked, you may call this unit to rear, and it gets like +5 or whatever. I think trying to find different ways to make this viable, and to at least, you know, like ease the anger that all the Stoicheia mains are feeling with this, especially because I thought that this was going to be an Aqua Force like deck, and we got Grand Blue quite literally out of nowhere with this, and he's kind of in the same boat as the Ruzael. Like their abilities were just not what anyone was expecting they were going to be. So again, we'll just have to see what people cook with this. But right now, I'm very lukewarm to cold on Cristianos, just like the ocean. Next, we got the 4 cards that we're going to be getting later on. We have Scissors Scorpio. So when discarded during your ride phase, you may call it as rest. Next, we have Sunbathing Dragon. Its ability is when this unit boosts, if you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone, you can counterblast 1, energy blast 2, draw a card, and it gets +5k until end of turn. I don't know if I'm going to be running this at all. What I will be running for sure, though, is Battle Siren Philantia. Yeah, Philantia. When it is placed on rear from drop, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Cristianos in his card name, this unit gets +10k until end of turn. This kind of mitigates the lack of power from Cristianos. I can understand why they didn't give the Cristianos calls +10. I would have been okay with getting +5. At least a grade 2 that you call can hit a Vanguard by itself, and that's kind of all you want with free calls. Well, not free calls, but that's kind of what you want with toolbox calls. You want to be able to pepper people, and if you don't have that +5, it kind of sucks. But there are, you know, other cards that you can play around with. This is probably one of the ones where you can play more than one version, more than one copy of the grade 1, just because if you do call it, it's a 13k body, and it just stays there, and you can keep it as a booster, which is decent. But again, 3 attacks, and without any kind of multi-attack assurance, it does put the starting power of this deck kind of at the bottom of the pecking order for comparison purposes. But anyway, we're looking at the last card now, and it is Latent Archer Shazal. When this unit is discarded from your hand during your ride phase, you may Soul Blast 2 to draw a card. And that is it. Again, no energy ramping in this one, so energy charts are the same. Turns 3 to 7, if you're going first, are the only times that you'll be able to activate Cristianos' ability without having to wait a turn and skip. Going second, you have more energy to play with, so you do get more time to use it. And I mean, you could probably run Sunbathing Dragons and get those extra draws for the extra energy blast that you have, but I don't think that its requirement is worth the payoff. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Other than that, Stoicheia is one of those nations. Stoicheia and Lyrical Monasterio, I do not have very much knowledge in. So we're just going to have to wait and see what people cook with this. I want to play this deck. I really do. I really want to play this deck, but it just, you know, feels a head below. How does that? Yeah, it just doesn't feel as wow as wowing as I thought it would be. It's very whelming, if I could characterize it in a word. It's very underwhelming. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys have a great start to the new year, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.